Hello everyone, this is the MarineAndReef.com budget tank build series. Today we're going to talk about controlling nitrate inside this aquarium. So if you guys have been following along for our full video series, we've done a previous video on cycling the tank, and in that video we mentioned that when you start putting fish in the tank, they will produce ammonia. That ammonia gets converted into nitrite, that nitrite gets converted into nitrate, and then I made the statement, and that usually just builds up and you need to remove it with water changes. But as I said then, we're going to talk about other ways of removing that later, and that's what we're doing in this video. So that nitrate that builds up in your water as a consequence of the nitrogen cycle, it can at some point as it accumulates start to poison the corals in particular in your tank, and it can also lead to a lot of algae growth. In this tank we've noticed we've started to get a little bit of a brown haze in the bottom of the sand. Some of that is unavoidable, but we want to minimize as much of that as possible. And one way we can minimize that is doing a better job of controlling nitrates in this aquarium. As a general rule, we're going to want the nitrate levels to be 20 or below. When I last tested, they were at 15, so they're still acceptable, but we've seen them slowly going up as we've taken care of this tank. So we want to implement some method of better keeping them down and controlling them. Now there's basically three ways you can do this. The first one is the one I already mentioned. You can just do more water changes. But I've kind of decided I don't want to do any more water changes. I'm doing my 5 gallons a week. I really want to keep to that schedule. On a small tank, it may be a lot easier just to do more water changes. It may mean that on my 30-gallon tank, I do 5 gallons a week instead of 2 gallons a week, and the nitrates are under control. That is a simple, very easy, budget-friendly solution. The other solution we could do is we could use some form of algae filtration. The algae uses the nitrate as a fertilizer when it grows. So as the algae grows in our filtration device, it pulls the nitrate out. We then take the algae and toss some of it out, let it regrow, and that removes nitrates. This would be with, say, a refugium growing some kind of chaeto or other macroalgae, or an algae turf scrubber that grows turf algae on a sheet. And while those work really well, we're trying to keep this tank on a budget, and those solutions would mean buying a refugium or a media reactor or a turf scrubber, which could cost a couple $100, and we're trying to keep this tank affordable. So the next solution is the one that we're going to look at, and that's carbon dosing. Now we have articles on MarineAndReef.com all about the science of carbon dosing, but to simplify it for you, there are bacteria that will eat and break down nitrate in the water, but they usually don't exist without some help. So to help them along, we're going to add organic carbon, and that's why we call it carbon dosing. We're going to add a food source so that those natural bacteria can proliferate and start to break down the nitrate on their own. Now there's a lot of products that do this for you. At home I use Brightwell's Reef Biofuel, which is their version of it, and I know a lot of manufacturers have their own unique version of it. It's also the same thing that biopellets, like Two Little Fishies biopellets do. They're adding a food source for the natural bacteria in the tank. But generally with most of those products, you need to add them every day. And I don't want to add them every day. And to keep this budget, we don't want to buy a dosing pump to automatically add it every day. So we've decided to look at the Prodibio system. Now this is a carbon dosing system to dose organic carbon to the water to process nitrates, but has a unique way of dosing it that makes it a lot easier than many of the other methods. So we got our Bioptim, which is the organic carbon source to feed the bacteria, and we got BioDigest, which is the living bacteria. Now, in most carbon dosing methods, it's generally best to pair both together, both add a carbon source and the bacteria that's going to process and break down the nitrates. So we got two products here. And the nice thing about this product is one vial treats 50 gallons, which we have a 55-gallon tank here with some rocks displacing stuff. And you only add one vial every 15 days. So in this case, I'm going to cheat a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one vial on Friday of the Bioptim. Next week, I'll add one vial on Friday of the BioDigest. So to completely carbon dose this tank and reduce my nitrates, all I have to do is add one vial of Prodibio once a week. That's super simple, it's super easy. It means I don't have to buy a piece of gear that's very expensive. It means I don't have to buy a dosing pump. And I think it really fits the budget theme of this tank very well. So without further ado, we're gonna open up one of these packages of the Bioptim, and we're gonna show you guys what it looks like to add it to your tank. All right, so here's the Bioptim. We're just gonna quickly open it up and show you guys what it looks like and how to add it to your tank. You can see here we're getting little vials, and each one of these vials treats the whole tank that we have behind us, which makes things super simple. I'm just gonna set it aside, take one of them out. This vial has two glass ends on it that snap apart. You snap the first one, and then when you snap the second, the liquid runs out into the tank. And that was it. If we do that once a week, altering between the Bioptim and BioDigest, we've carbon dosed the tank. That's gonna help control the nitrates in the water. And it's a super simple method of doing that. If you like what you're seeing in these videos, stay tuned for more. We're gonna talk about customizing the filter media. We're gonna show you as we add more and more animals to the tank, and you're gonna see this tank come along nicely. Thank you very much.